and who are current clerks. Again, I'm not going to get into it because we have no idea. But they're going to find out who they are. Does any of you on television tonight deny that we will find out who leaked this opinion? Any of you think we will not know who leaked this?
No, we'll find out. We'll find out who did it, Laura.
Turley, what do you think? Will they find out?
Well, I'm hopeful that we can. I know that Chief Justice Roberts is going to do everything he can. This is the greatest crisis, not just of his career, but of any modern Chief Justice.
So the Chief Justice, it's incumbent upon him to bring every law clerk before him. Give me your phones. I'm sorry, or the FBI. Give me your phone. We want all your accounts. We got to do our own. We have to do our own look at every device that you've ever used and find out who did this.
I don't think Laura Ingraham knows how these investigations would work, but that is going to be partially what may happen here. So Laura Ingraham is upset as the Supreme Court is getting ready to overturn Roe v. Wade, as that leaked opinion document has been released. She's upset about that being leaked versus the contents of it, of course, because this is what many of her ilk were looking for. Now, as people were discussing whether or not they're upset about the ruling versus the leaking, she's upset that people are upset about that. Watch more.
Protesters are enraged at that leaked ruling from Politico tonight regarding Roe versus Wade. They're outraged not about the leak, they're outraged about what's in the decision. This is one of those things I thought I would never see in my life. I've seen a lot in my time in Washington. I've been here way too long. Yeah. This is one of the most destructive things that I can ever imagine to happen to our legal system. Take it away.
Take it away. It's the most destructive things to ever happen to our legal system.
The irony, you're talking about Roe v. Wade, you're talking about a bill, you're talking about a law that has protected millions and millions of lives, that has saved lives, that has enabled people to live their lives, that has enabled families with children to decide when they want more or they cannot afford or do not want any more. And you're mad about the leak. Always shoot the messenger. And guess what? I have a theory that it was a conservative. In fact, this theory is out there that a conservative actually leaked this. Why? Because it seals in Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh and the other conservative justices into their positions. Once it is leaked, they're not gonna change their mind because they see the outrage, but they see also the praise. How much, for all the outrage you guys are seeing on the left and liberals, how much praise and lauding are the right doing right now of these reactionary justices? And so it's a perfect strategy actually to lock them in, to make sure that it's not chipped away at it a little bit. It's not semi-overturned, it's all the way overturned.
Well, I think as far as the future of the court's integrity, at least from these panel of conservatives that we talked about just a minute ago as well, including Mike Huckabee and Ari Fleischer, it's definitely more about an insurrection, a term that they actually don't like using until right now. This is more on the leak, watch.
This is their effort to distract from everything that's going wrong and play to the heartstrings of those, especially on the left, that this issue is so important to. And I think we're going to see the summer 2020 reignited with protests and, dare I say, an insurrection. I know that's a dirty word, but I think we're going to see a lot more to come this week.
One step further, this is an insurrection, not by some guy from some state who got hot under the collar and went to DC and got overheated at a rally. This is insurrection by a person who is paid for by the taxpayers and who has a duty under his particular job and employment to keep his mouth shut, and he didn't do it. So it's an egregious form, if you will, of insurrection, and I hope that everyone will use that term, because if what happened January 6th was an insurrection, this absolutely is an insurrection.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
What really troubles me, not about the ruling itself. If that's the ruling itself, I accept and respect that ruling. But the leaker. Make no mistake, Sean, this is an insurrection against the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Republicans like to use talking points, and it definitely circulate how they should all use it, and you saw it right there. An insurrection, and also, by the way, Mike Huckabee, they're downplaying the actual insurrection or the attempted coup on the government, which they've been doing this for over a year now. That wasn't a big deal, as he said again there. Some guy that got hot under the collar at a rally. That's his description of what happened on January 6th. And this is an egregious form of an insurrection. It's a different form of an insurrection somehow from a leak from this. You can have your opinions about how it's damaging to the court's ability to keep things within. You can have that discussion. This is not an insurrection. He says, I hope everyone will use that. That is the cue that we have to push this term so hard so that this becomes a narrative that we take over. And lastly, what is an insurrection? The violent uprising against an authority or government. Is this a violent uprising? And people are upset about this ruling? It doesn't matter. It's just more violent, angry rhetoric to say that they're on the right side of this whole thing.
I love how they were just waiting. They're like, we need to call something an insurrection. Yep. Ooh, anything they can do. And the bat signal from Murdoch's little lizard brain goes out, and then they all they pick it up and then they regurgitate it. Ari Fleischer, who again was the mouthpiece for George W. Bush, who again nominated Samuel Alito of one of the many awful things that he did. Ari Fleischer can eat toilet bowl brushes for the rest of his life. I swear to God, that guy is the most useless POS ever. Shut up, go away. Tomi Lahren is pro-choice. Tomi Lahren, as of a few years ago, would say that she was pro-choice and had to admit that she was pro-choice. She went on The View and said she was pro-choice. She went on a bunch of places, and then she had to retract and say, oh, no, I don't believe in rights for myself. No, you're right. If I get pregnant, I should have that baby, and that's God. Yeah. Anyway, back to collecting my millions.
Yeah, that's the idea. This is the way these things work. They're actors. And when it comes to even also politicians, look, and I know this is unrelated. JD Vance hated Donald Trump. Now when it comes to getting power, he loves him some Donald Trump, openly and blatantly. That's how it works with anything. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene was crying over this. They don't care about the issue. They care about power, and then actually utilizing this decades-long culture war, and finally we're on top. Finally we got to that point. And my speculation, since you brought up what some of his opinions are, they don't want people talking about this leading up to the midterms, because it's not about the law. It is about getting elected. They can't keep pushing this same thing if it's already done. Now what? What's next? There are things that are next. And that's the next battle that they're probably gonna push here. I wanna read really fast before we go to this break, because Justice Roberts did respond to this leaking aspect. And as Laura Ingraham wants, this investigation. He said, to the extent this betrayal of the confidences of the court was intended to undermine the integrity of our operations, it will not succeed. The work of the court will not be affected in any way. We at the court are blessed to have a workforce, permanent employees and law clerks alike, intensely loyal to the institution and dedicated to the rule of law. Court employees have an exemplary and important tradition of respecting the confidentiality of the judicial process and upholding the trust of the court. This was a singular and egregious breach of that trust that is an affront to the court and the community of public servants who work here. I've directed the marshal of the court to launch an investigation into the source of this leak. So that's gonna happen. So Ingraham, it's okay. He doesn't have to go and grab everyone's phones and start looking through their text messages, because that's, I'm sure, what she'd rather have. They'll have their investigation, they'll figure it out, and we're still gonna be pissed about what just happened.